The one reverb is a big skid snap ASIM coming from EBONITE on September 19th, and I has the dumb, so you'll get to see Angel throwing something shiny for a change before we dust it up, so you'll get to see a surface comparison in addition to a Kool-Aid-free review that's higher quality than Bobby Boucher's H2O. To start with the details, the center is Royal Crest Lanes in Lawrence, Kansas, and the lane condition is the Kegel Chromium Challenge pattern that comes in at 42 feet, 25.5 mils. The graph is linked in the description. The reverb is one of the strongest pearl balls ever. The Centrex core is a monster at a super low 246 RG, big 056 differential, and an 027 int diff, so extremely strong asymmetric core. It's even stronger than the core in Radical's Max Bias, for example. The cover is the HK22 base with the already notorious cohesion additive from the Hammer Effect, Wicked Collision, Mesmerize, Vaporize, and which is also on the Pure Envy that releases with the reverb, and it's combined with GB 15.1 Pearl, so one of the strongest cores ever, wrapped with one of the strongest shiny covers ever. You'll notice that it is still in fact shiny. I was busy and in a hurry to get the stuff drilled so we could get out to film, and completely blanked sticking this one on the resurfacing machine because Shine and Angel don't get along, and I didn't notice it until she threw the first ball. However, instead of instantly taking care of it, we thought why not leave it and throw it for a bit and then chalk it up later and add a surface comparison to the review. The reverb is such an absolute unit that it at least started out looking ridiculous for her. We were both shocked at how good it looked. Now as she kept throwing it and the lanes settled in a little, the reason Angel and Shine don't mix didn't take long to show up. If she threw it perfectly like she did the first several shots, it looked really impressive, but a little inside and it jumped, a little outside and it skated. Remember, this isn't a house shot. It's not super difficult, but it's not free, so to speak. The reverb is in Hammer Effect territory, but is a more arcy, continuous shape, so if you liked the effect shiny, you can leave it alone. And if you had to hit it with some surface, I think you'll probably have to do the same with the reverb. We hit it with one of the new 2000 grit Vice sanding pads that James has been using recently, and I'm really impressed with the surface we got to by hand. Regular Abralon doesn't last that long and doesn't seem to get that deep, and True Cuts get super deep, but they really scratch the ball up quite a bit and can create somewhat of an inconsistent surface. Now by hand with these Vice pads, we got almost as good of a surface as I get with Jayhawk's Diamond Dust pads on my resurfacing machine, and that's insane, so very happy with the surface quality we got here. Instantly you can see the ball reads quite a bit earlier, but still has a lot of punch down lane, very reminiscent of her Wicked Collision. Now with surface comes a trade-off. It took her a couple shots to get adjusted to the extra dig. She'd started throwing it a little slower with the Shine to give it a chance to pick up, so she tried throwing it harder, moving in a bit, adding a bit of loft, before settling on just getting a little softer with her hand. Short interruption to remind you to check the description. Lots of good and helpful things down there, including a link to Bowler's Mart to get one of these ordered, links to instructional videos, plus I have a new shirt and hoodie design up on CoolWick. Suck it up, Buttercup. And code ROSEDOLL10 will get you 10% off your order at checkout. Links to the shirt and hoodie are also in the description. I wish people weren't so quick to jump to conclusions or judgments. In this case, after a couple shots, it would have been really easy to say, wow, I don't understand why she doesn't like Shine. And then right after adding surface, wow, that's too strong. But when you just give something some time and try a few things to make sure you've got a more representative sample size, you'll understand that Shine looked sexy when she threw it perfect, but ultimately wasn't forgiving for her whatsoever, while the surface was a little much at first, but after a couple shots, knocked the dust off and she made the adjustment. That's where the sweet spot was. With or without surface, it's still a half step below the big sanded solids, so definitely in the same territory the Pure Envy is in. If you leave it shiny, it'll favor transition on heavier and longer patterns, or it'll be a top of the bag house shot killer in League, and will be a very low 1 ball or extremely high 2 ball. If you sand it, it'll hang out on virtually anything, and it still may not be as strong as the big super chonky stuff, but it'll still get work done and would absolutely be a solid 1 ball. Comparing it to the Wicked Collision, which also comes polished, but which we sanded from the jump, both at the same surface, the shape is remarkably similar. They both have the roundish, arcing, continuous look. This is where cover type factors in slightly. The Wicked, being a solid, is ever so slightly earlier and smoother than the reverb. This should reinforce that cover formula is the much more dominant factor, and that the perceived difference between solid and pearl lies mostly in the surface finish, as solids are typically sanded and pearls are typically polished. The Wicked and Reverb are pretty similar balls on paper, and when taken to the same surface are also very similar on the lane, but the Wicked does have the edge on overall strength. It's earlier and a little smoother. Now if you sand the Wicked and leave the Reverb shiny, you've got a Wicked 1-2 punch, because you can start with the Wicked on the fresh, and when transition hits, the Reverb is an identically shaping ball that with the polish will just be cleaner and sharper, making them absolutely perfect complements. The one Reverb releases with Columbia's Buttery Super Cuda, Deviate's Surprising Mantra, Ebonite's Chonky Crusher, and Hammer's Sexy Pure Envy on September 19th. I'll have reviews for all these balls up at some point. Remember again to check the description for all the goodies and stick around for the outtakes. They're always tons of fun. This video was brought to you by Panda Bear Productions. We put the in bowling. Thanks for watching, and may the strikes be with you.
Whoa! No.
That for now.
Oh, dang. Okay.
Wants to fly off.
So hopefully
Is that going to be enough?
Ooh, nope. Ah!
I was going 12.
Go. That felt great.
There are two different.
Ah,